Yeah, if you don't, if those who know, please let them know that the old ways food pyramids are a way to tackle nutrition into this. Because if you're doing this for a community, you know, you're doing this for a purpose. People can eat better, have access to better food. So put it in a cultural context they can understand. For example, they just did the African American one. They didn't invite me to talk about it. I guess I ain't one. But they have like, it's cute because they have like a little sweet potato pie at the top where the fats and oils and sugars go. And everything else, you know, they try to demonstrate the fact that most third world folk, we are vegivores. We're not often total vegetarian. We're vegivores. Meat is our condiment. It's not our staple. So they're trying to encourage people to do more legumes, more fish, more green vegetables, and they have one that's Latino, one that's Native American, one that's Southern European, you know, Greek, Mediterranean diet. So they have one for everybody. They need to make one for mutts, because that's most Americans. So, but the point is that you have access to, ready access to, things that you can show people in your communities that are fantastic, that you don't have to do the legwork for it. And you can place your garden in a context. So we ain't even finished the list, have we? No, we ain't finished the list. All right, we're preaching now. So cucumbers, the potato, pumpkin, eggplant, French beans, Jerusalem artichoke. Who likes those sunchokes? Who likes those? Wow. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Most of the time people say, huh? Kale, lima beans, onions, parsnips. I just started liking parsnips. You know, it was like, but now I like them better. Green peas, sweet and hot peppers. Now there's this one, my mother told me that when she was growing up, bell pepper was called a mango. Do you know why? Because people couldn't get the real mangoes, so they would pickle them. This is the way they would do mangoes. And to even, when she was a kid in the 1950s, they were called mangoes in a lot of black communities. So that was a really interesting thing. This area you can grow, historically, you're able to grow cherry pepper, hot pepper, long red cayenne, habanero even. All those West Indian crops come here by the slave trade and also the trade between the West Indies and the ports of the Chesapeake. So before there was a D.C., there was a Georgetown, right? There was an Alexandria, there was a Baltimore, there was an Oxford, Chrisville, St. Mary's. All those places received substantial imports from the Caribbean. So it's important to recognize there's a Caribbean angle here too, that people don't often talk about. In the early 19th century, the first 20, 30 years, they never tell you about this. Because we've kind of been written out of the history of ethnic people in America because we're a race. No, we're not. We're an ethnic group. There's one human race. And people who came from Haiti, who were, they call them refugees. I think they're just getting out of Dodge. From the Haitian Revolution, came here, and they set up a lot of the first black catering businesses. And the most important thing is they took over all the produce markets on the East Coast. They weren't playing. They came here. They were multilingual. Some of them could pass. We won't go there today. That's a different lecture for a different place. They would often marry into wealthier black American families. They had that connection. So they didn't just stick to themselves. They forged alliances. And the produce markets in D.C. and Baltimore had such a heavy Haitian influence that they passed laws to prevent them from selling further. Especially in Baltimore and Maryland. For 20 years, they had the produce market on lockdown. You didn't do anything unless you passed through the Haitians. And you never hear about this. And as soon as, in this area, when Caribbean emancipation came in the 1830s, a lot of Caribbean people came to Maryland and D.C. because they had two advantages. Number one, you weren't alone as a black person. And number two, it was easier to be free here than it was in some points north and definitely in some points south. So a lot of Caribbean folk came here from the British, West Indies, and also from Haiti. So that's another connection. Where are we? Potatoes, yeah. Someone gave me a potato a couple years ago that I grew in a heritage garden I did out of the Belle Dawson house in Rockville. And I didn't know that it was the potato that started the Irish famine. I was like, great, this is awesome. And it was the same year we had like a tomato blight. Remember that sucker? Yeah. It was gross, wasn't it? It was just out of the blue, out of nowhere, it just showed up. Carol, come join us. But it grew beautifully. It was kind of ironic. The year of our big tomato blight, potato that caused our potato famine was the one that flourished. So that was cool. Salsify. Who eats salsify anymore? Have any of y'all actually had salsify? It sounds like Delta Burke's cousin. Or Dixie Carter's cousin, one of them designed one. But salsify, you know what they call it in Chesapeake region? They call it vegetable oyster. If you were too poor to afford oysters, which is pretty damn poor, if you're around here 200 years ago, you would make salsify instead and call that, you know, oyster soup or something. I don't know. It's like people who ate nightshade. How broke do you have to be to wait for a poisonous plant to ripen to make a pie out of it? I mean, I'm not going there. I do some crazy stuff. I cook possums and I play Kunta Kinte on the weekends, but I ain't about to eat no poisonous plant. Sorry. I ain't going out for you like that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Savoy cabbage, sea kale. That's a cool one. I've seen that growing at Monticello. Sorrel, spinach, sprouts, squash. Okay, tangent number 15,000. Who has been to the Heritage Harvest Festival in Monticello? That's great. Okay, every one of y'all need to go this year. Number one, it's relatively free. There are a couple of paid lectures, but it's just like this. And you get to network with people they come from as far away as New York to as far away as North Carolina and Tennessee and Kentucky. And I was with my friend Sandor Katz last year presenting. It was awesome. They do cooking demonstrations, cooking classes. There's a ton of organic food. All the good stuff is there. And you get to network with people from all over the Mid-Atlantic who are doing the exact same thing you are. And trade cards and everything. So it's really worth going to. I should have picked a bigger room. But put it on your calendar. I know it's not always easy to make, but it's always on a Saturday in September in Charlottesville. It's 2 hours away, carpool together. Fine. I know y'all ain't biking to Charlottesville. I know it's a bike crowd. No, y'all ain't biking. Ain't no metro in Charlottesville either, so watch it. So, but go to that, definitely. And you can see, you know, people doing the same thing and get a booth there too. You know, we should have a DC community booth there, you know. Everybody puts in 50 cents, I'm sure we can afford it. Yes, yeah, DC State Fair, yeah. So, turnips and turnip greens are important. Winter squash, onions, tomatoes, nasturtiums. Who's done nasturtiums? Oh, that's good. Edible flowers, yeah. When I did a thing at the Union Square Green Market in New York, and that was the one thing they wouldn't let me demonstrate was edible flowers because they would always sell out. It was impossible. You know, the idea was to encourage people to go buy stuff. Well, they never had enough handy. So an edible flower garden might be a really cool idea. And also might be a good urban farming idea. I'm expecting a cut. I got witnesses. Chervil. Who does chervil? It's really lovely, isn't it? It's really nice. You know, I learned that from Edna Lewis, her cookbook, and she said they always grew chervil. And so I started growing it, and it's like delicate parsley, but even, I don't know, it has like a floral thing with it.
It's got an anise kind of.
Yeah.
A little, like in the same family as tarragon, but much more delicate.
And you just put it on eggs, you put it on salad. At the last second, you don't bury it in the food. You just put it on top.
And it's a cool season.
Yeah, so you got like 3 weeks. It's spring.
Mine is still growing now. Mine in the backyard. Well, I'm in DC.
You have that asphalt heat thing.
Yeah.
So coriander's another one. Cress. Who does creasy greens? Anybody? Upland cress or watercress? Y'all ain't country enough for me. I need to find me some country folk with a capital K. Upland cress is really good. It's really healthy for you. It's really nice. And you can find it in any park. It's one of those that kind of like died out. I hate how they say, these plants escaped. Like, really? Harriet Tubman of the vegetable world. So, cress is a good one. Watercress is good too. We call them creasy greens, or they call them greasy greens too, which is, you know, because they put so much salt pork in there. You can't get enough salt pork with your greens. Garlic, fennel, lavender, mustard, parsley, peppergrass. They were actually growing it as an actual plant instead of going out in the woods or Rock Creek Park and picking it.